We have Hesham El-Miji, that is a difficult name to pronounce, who is the head of the Staten Island Libertarians and also the founder of Muslims for Liberty. Next we have speaker and writer Josie Wales, and next we have Larkin Rose, who is a writer as well for Liberty, and I can assure you Larkin will be asking some fun questions tonight.
If you become the nominee for the Libertarian Party, do you believe you have a realistic chance of being elected president?
With Hillary as the nominee and with Donald Trump as the nominee, come on, if that doesn't present an opportunity to be at 15% for the third party, which is the Libertarian Party, I don't know if it ever happens.
So what I hope to do is to promote the ideas of liberty as boldly as possible, as often as possible, and consistently as possible, and to give as many people as possible the option to vote for an actual libertarian.
I don't have $1 million. I don't have name recognition. I'm a nobody. But nobody tells the truth. And nobody has a plan to move America in the right direction. So I am Marc Allan Feldman, nobody for president.
Gary Johnson is the problem. I have gone coast to coast and I have seen the pathetic turnout of libertarians at state conventions. There are 13 million people in Pennsylvania, and how many are here? 50 maybe? That is pathetic. It's because we have a loser messenger in Gary Johnson. I'm nominated, I will win. If any other candidate is nominated, they will lose. It's as simple as that.
By the way, and next we have the good doctor.
Everybody wants liberty for themselves. The difference is libertarians want liberty for everybody.
Theory is great, but practical solutions must be addressed and solutions fashioned within the constitutional framework. I'm capable of doing that. None of the other candidates can. Thank you.
So if we're at A and we want to go to Z, and Z is absolute liberty, then as a libertarian candidate, we should always advocate for Z. Should we accept D or B or even W as a step towards Z? Certainly, but we should never advocate D or B or W or even Y. We should advocate for Z. We should advocate for total liberty, every issue, every time.
For a libertarian to win the presidency will require a revolution. But revolutions happen. Revolutions are drastic changes in the way people think. Revolutions always seem impossible before they happen and inevitable afterwards. Yes, we have a chance, but it's not going to be by compromising. Before Barack Obama became president, I was concerned that he had a set of principles that were dangerous for America. After his first term, I felt much better because I realized he had no principles at all. The Democrats and Republicans are much better at compromising principles than we are. If we're going to win, it's going to be on our principles and integrity. Thank you.
So yes, democracy absolutely is antithetical to liberty. The reason that I am running for office is not to get elected, but to spread the ideas of liberty and to do that as consistently as possible.
But we are a country that's governed by laws, so we are a republic. We're a country governed by laws, and those laws are the Constitution. So we are a constitutional republic. We're not a democracy.
To respond to the governor, we used to be a government, a country ruled by laws. We're now an oligarchy. We are ruled by multinational corporations and wealthy special interests. We have a representative government, but they do not represent us. We can change that.
And
I'm the only candidate that requires a minimum donation of $2,500. I will not take, I will not take someone's last dollar when they're having trouble paying rent and buying food. No, thank you.
So there's been talk about constitutional republic, and there's a country that has written in their constitution equal right in all spheres of state and public activity. They recognize the freedom of speech, press, religion, assembly, association, petition, and even the right to travel and the right to privacy. That country, North Korea. You can, no one has the right to take from someone else without consent. And that means that it doesn't matter if everybody in this room agrees to take the governor's shoes or his car or anything else. It doesn't make it right. And just because people get together and call themselves a government and vote to take people's stuff, it doesn't make it right. All forms of involuntary taxation are theft and should be absolutely abolished.
And then, if there were no IRS, if there were no corporate tax, if there were no income tax, pink slips would get issued to 80% of lobbyists in Washington, because that's why they're there, to garner their special favors. Your question, I know, is philosophically, are taxes okay? I will tell you, if you don't pay your taxes, as principled as it might be to not pay them, if you don't pay them, you're going to end up in jail. And so I would pay them. That's not...
I would say that all taxation is theft, whether it's voluntary or not. And the reason is, the worst theft is when you deceive people into thinking that what belongs to them really does not. If you can convince people that their property belongs to someone else, then you can get it to give them up voluntarily. That is the worst type of theft. I hear from Bernie Sanders talking about what government should do with the government's tax money. It's not the government's tax money. It's your money. It's my money. The silver bullet is to demonstrate that we should control the tax money. How do we cut taxes without hurting people? We do it through my silver bullet, which is the balance and credit plan. Balance the budget and keep it balanced. And number two, change all charitable deductions to dollar-for-dollar tax credits. If you don't want to send $1 to the IRS, you don't have to. You can support the country the way you decide.
And the doctor.
With respect to that minimum oppressive tax regime, you would still need a downsized IRS. When people talk about abolishing the IRS or balancing the budget before solving insolvency, they are simply pandering and have no clue of the economic realities facing the country. Thank you.
Okay, this is a tough one. Kinsella's not here to weigh in on this, so it shouldn't take as long. But very briefly, what is your view on the concept of intellectual property?
And I think having a patent attorney, Mr. Reid, you should go up first for this one.
I have spent 15 years interviewing the top scientists and engineers in this country. You need an incentive for people to expand the treasury of knowledge with their inventions and writings with a limited period monopoly. This goes back, I believe, to the 17th century, and it works.
When Henry Ford created, or I guess streamlined, the automobile, production of the automobile, he was not able to patent his techniques. He was not able to patent the final product that he created. And well, about 20 years later, I don't think anybody is thinking the automobile is going away because people can't patent it. The idea of intellectual property is completely absurd, because it's not only claiming that you own a product that you invented or created, it's claiming that you own every derivation of said product, even if somebody has the idea at a completely same time in a completely separate setting. And it also claims that you own the brain waves and the neurons of someone else who has the idea and tries to use it in a similar way.
I would say that nearly all of the advances of medicine, the new techniques, the new any of the new things that physicians do are not intellectual property. We don't do it because we want to make money at it. We do it because we think it's going to make things better for people. Something new is exciting, that people will do it. The question shouldn't be, is intellectual property a good idea or not? The question is it a proper role of government? The answer is no.
So intellectual property is with us, and keeping your eye on the philosophy, which, as far as I'm concerned, there's too much protection of intellectual property. That it's not all original thought at all. That all of us may engage in that same thought at the same time, and just because one person gets granted that intellectual property, they're granted riches beyond imagination forever, and that's not right. But
and I would ask that you specifically answer these questions before you elaborate. First of all, do you consider yourself a proponent of the non-aggression principle? And second, do you believe the Constitution is compatible with the non-aggression principle, particularly the taxing clause?
And let's start with Darryl Perry.
To answer the first part, yes, I do my best to abide by the non-aggression principle. And regarding the Constitution, it has either authorized such tyranny as we have or has been powerless to prevent it. In either case, it is unfit to exist.
And let's go to Governor Johnson.
well, I do believe in the non-aggression principle, but I also think that, and I'm not picking on the question at all, but this is one of those questions where America, or me anyway, it just goes over my head, and I'm sorry. But it does. It's not something that I engage in conversation with people, and if I do, they just glaze over. So the fact that government should not be engaged in force, how that's relative to the Constitution, I can't answer the question.
I won't claim that I'm smarter, but I'm interested, so I think about it a lot. The Constitution is not great because it was invented by geniuses, and I don't think our principles are great because they agree with the Constitution. I think the Constitution is great because it agrees with our principles, and there's a reason for it. Because the founder of this country were in revolution against concentrated power of a king, and it was designed to protect us against concentrated power. And the reason it fails isn't because of the Constitution, it's because of people ignoring the Constitution. Amen. Or trying to twist it into something it is not.
Of course, taxation, a forcible taking under threat of imprisonment is an aggressive act against the people. The practical reality is that governments need to be funded, and they need a revenue stream. The idea is to minimize government, and so doing, minimize that aggression. No, I would not advocate eliminating all taxes. I would minimize government so as to reduce the oppression under practical realities. Thank you.
I would say I agree that government needs a revenue stream, but I hope we could also keep them to a $5 maximum. It's not hard to balance the budget. I wouldn't be running for president if I didn't think I could balance the budget. I looked into it. You can go to a website, Council for a Responsible Federal Budget, crfb.com. But here's how you do it. The Democrats have already published proposals that cut the deficit in half by cutting money that goes to special interests that support Republicans. The Republicans have proposals that cut the deficit in half by cutting money that goes to special interests that support Democrats. Be bipartisan. Take those cuts, you have a balanced budget, and already every single cut is supported by half the government.
One thing I'd like, the first thing you would cut if you were President of the United States, Mr. Reid, quickly, one word. What would be the first thing you'd cut?
The first thing I would cut? I'm not quite sure that I would cut anything. My purpose will be to kill the fiat dollar.
You're not going to be able to balance the budget without taking on the entitlements, Medicaid and Medicare, which I think can be done with a heart and can be done and absolutely provide for a safety net that there are those that I think genuinely need. That would be also entitlement Medicare, which would be health care for those over 65. I think you devolve that to the states. And military spending. And balancing the federal budget, if everybody takes it on the chin by 20%, if you're looking at a 20% reduction in military spending, that's only going back a few years to achieve that. So ways surpasses one word.
Everything.
I knew he was going to get one word. I knew he was definitely going to get one word. And Herr Johnson.
So just to clarify very quickly, Mark's idea is terrific. He might actually be able to pull that off with executive orders. Just so you understand that you're going to elect the President of the United States, it's going to be Marc Feldman. He's going to be able to do that through, or move in that direction through executive order.
Yeah, I am not an isolationist. I just believe in dropping tourism, education, philanthropy, and free trade on other countries instead of bombs. We have a duty as Americans to help our fellow human beings wherever they are, but it is not a proper role of government. I believe that I will tell people that I am a supporter of Israel. I have family in Israel. It would take me a long time to explain it. However, the correct amount of foreign aid to Israel is zero. I would end all government foreign aid. I would end all government foreign aid, and Israel is a fantastic place to start.
When I view when I view others outside of this country, I do have this sense of do unto others as you would have others do unto you, and that constitutionally, although we're not obligated to grant these rights constitutionally, that we should be, in fact, these are, in my opinion, basic human rights that should be respected and I don't want to use the term granted, but respected and administered, if you will.
Mr. Perry.
Every human being, regardless of where on this planet they were born, has the same rights. The question is to what extent various governments recognize those rights. And in this context, I would say that the rights that are supposedly recognized in the U.S. Constitution should be afforded to everyone that finds themselves under the supposed authority of any agent of the U.S. government. That includes people that are being held as prisoners of war by the U.S. government. So,
and let me tell you, let me make one thing really clear.
That guy
as
over there.
President of the United States, I am not going to send troops on the ground, our kids, to lose their limbs or to die over there for causes that I have to tell you are not making any sense to me.
Stop creating foreign enemies, and you do that by stopping the drone bombing of innocent people in places like Yemen, Somalia, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, people going to weddings, people coming home from weddings, people just going to the grocery store, and because they're driving a Toyota pickup that some suspected militant may or may not have ever been near, you just wind up dropping a drone bomb on them, and statistics show that 90% of people in what are supposedly targeted drone strikes are actually civilians. The term targeted drone strike is supposed to mean we know exactly who's being killed, but 90% of the time, not only is it not the person, it's somebody that is not even suspected of being a militant. So you stop creating the enemies.
There was a time when our weapons manufacturers made weapons to support our war efforts. Now we manufacture war efforts to support our military industries.
Great.
The analysis displayed to me is incredibly shallow. Я хочу Саша и Russia будет очень хороша друга. You go to the top. You make friends between Russia and China, the EU and the US, so they stop playing the Shia and the Sunnis against each other.
The word Islamic terrorism gives the connotation that it's built in the religion, and that's very problematic to start with. There is Muslim terrorism. Muslims do terrorism as Americans or Christians or Jews do terrorism. So let's start with proper, terms, because this is very, it creates this type of language creates more enemies.
I think everyone here wants to make some comments on this. So, panelists, are you okay with everybody going around on this?
Absolutely.
Okay, so Mr. Perry, please.
The global war on terror is nothing more than a drunken bar fight with missiles and bombs. Nobody knows who threw the first punch. Nobody remembers who threw the first punch. Nobody remembers how long ago the first punch got thrown. But people are still throwing punches, and people are still swinging bar stools. And the way you win a bar fight is not to participate. The way you win the global war on terror is to not participate. It's like in the movie War Games, where the computer at the end says the only way to win is to not play the game.
Governor Johnson, we were going to go around for this one. Governor Johnson, would you like to make any follow-ups on that? Okay, and Dr. Feldman.
As a believer in individual empowerment, we also have individual responsibility. We should not forget that people who are primarily responsible for terrorism are terrorists. Now, the people who are responsible for fomenting terrorism are the people who are responsible. But we can't take responsibility. We should not absolve anyone of the responsibility for what they do. How to fight terrorism is to recognize its power and to take it away. The power in terrorism is causing terror. If we're not afraid, if we look at this objectively, we can avoid it. I'm sorry. We have 30 seconds more? If we can take away the terrorist ability to make us afraid, they're not terrorists anymore. They're just a bunch of militants going around the world, killing some people, but not achieving anything but making themselves look bad. You know, like Republicans.
And I'd also like...
Our Lord Jesus Christ conquered hearts and minds through love. Muhammad did it by the sword. The Muslim religion or culture is a little more intolerant than the Christian religion, but the big problem are the power players, the Russians and the Americans, playing the Sunni and Shia for selfish global control, and the transnationals and the global banking cabal going in there and profiting and exciting these groups into terrorism. Thank you.
And yet we're not, there should be due process. There's not. That's what I wish he would have engaged in. But he never acknowledged that Guantanamo exists for a problem population that has to be dealt with. If Guantanamo gets shut down tomorrow, you're still going to have that situation. I would act to resolve that we do offer a due process, something that is not happening and it's not being proposed by Obama currently.
Feldman.
Short answer, rights, yes, torture, no. Next, Guantanamo, close it yesterday. Now, the next question is this, what do we learn from this? Don't listen to me. Everything I tell you could be a lie. Okay, we're all running for office. We say things that you want to hear. But so don't pay attention to it. Use your brains. Use your resources. Find out your own information. Look at where people are getting their money from. How could a community organizer, a black fellow from the south side of Chicago who promises to close Guantanamo Bay, 8 years later it's still going? Why? Because he's a politician. Don't listen to him. Follow the money.
Go ahead.
Derrick, it's not a cycle. From the dawn of man to today, there has been an inexorable movement towards increasing the freedom of the individual, because that is our natural way. When we went from clan warfare to feudal lords to kings to constitutional republics to whatever we're going to see in the future, there has been a growing and growing empowerment of the individual. Libertarianism isn't just possible, it's inevitable. But we need to do what we can do to expedite to happen now. Thank you.
This is for Governor Johnson, but I would like also to hear everyone else. Some pseudo-experts and hate mongers have been promoting fabrications and stereotypes about Islam and Muslims since and even before 9/11. Governor Johnson, you made some statements about opposing Sharia and banning the burqa, which is an article of clothing that some Muslim women wear. Who advises you on these matters? Where do you get your information from? And since Sharia is that important that you've been talking about it a lot, can you just name maybe the 5 foundational maxims of Sharia?
Before I seeing that you were on the panel this evening, I actually Googled, and I would ask everybody in here, just Google Sharia law versus the U.S. Constitution. And what you're going to find is that it's the antithesis of the U.S. Constitution.
Can you give an example?
Women's rights.
What about it?
That women are not granted the same rights under Sharia law.
That's absolutely false.
I would just ask you all to Google what I just said and read what
So who
comes up.
advises you, Governor? Who advises you on these matters? Where do you get your information from? Google?
There's also a YouTube video you can find on Google that says that I have been disappeared. So, we can.
When I first joined the Libertarian Party in 1999, it was proudly proclaimed as the party of principle. Over the last 17 years, the Libertarian Party has become a party of watered-down messages and half measures. And I believe that the Libertarian Party should once again be that party of principle. The Libertarian Party should have a presidential candidate who will, as boldly as possible, as loudly as possible, and as often as possible, proclaim the ideas of liberty as consistently as possible. Not advocate watered-down messages, not advocate half measures, but advocate maximum freedom every time.
Okay. Governor Johnson.
Government is too big, it tries to accomplish too much, it spends too much, it takes our tax money that we could be spending ourselves. It's our own freedom, it's our own liberty. We also have an erosion of civil liberties in this country. We need to stand up for individual freedom and liberty and the notion that you and I can dictate our own futures as long as those futures, as long as our actions don't harm others in any way whatsoever.
Dr. Feldman.
Don't believe in free public school, don't believe in free anything, and don't believe in free freedom. Freedom isn't free. We have to fight for it. We have to fight to protect it. We have to fight to attain it. And the reason is it's not so much about freedom, it's about control. Control doesn't just come with laws, it also comes through fear, through hatred, and the way to bring peace in this world isn't through a strong military, it's through economic cooperation, tolerance, and mutual understanding.
Mr. Reid.
I am the only candidate that can translate the libertarian message into a form that will be appealing to 90% of the Americans and offer a solution set that will attract 90% of Americans. I'm the only libertarian candidate who can and would win saving the country from social chaos, economic ruination, and eventual global war and hundreds of millions of deaths. You're going to have a heavy responsibility in Florida, and it's going to be on you because my job will be done. Thank you.
And with that, I think the candidates all deserve a round of applause.